Tough day, right? How is everyone? You don't need to see all my room. That's better. Maybe a little bit more. I've been organizing my room, so I don't have a mic yet. So if I'm kind of quiet, I apologize completely. You know, I remember when I first started YouTubing, I thought, why do people always apologize? I totally understand now. Let me see. How's that? I think that's okay. Tough day, America, huh? What the heck? Oh my gosh. What can I say? I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're all here. And I'm hoping to bring some encouragement in a pretty tense time of our country. Where do I start? Let me start with what I know about my faith in God. I think that's going to be the most beneficial to everyone who watches. So what I've learned in my walk with God is that you grow the closest to God, you hear his voice much better, and your relationship with him grows much faster in times of trial, times of suffering, times of hardship, and even pain. I've been asked many, many times by many, many people, my children and family included, some spiritual friends, some that are not spiritually minded as I am, just people I enjoy and I am friends with. And they've asked me, why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? Well, if that's not the $1 million question, I don't know what is. But I think I have a pretty good answer. A lot of people would just roll their eyes and they wouldn't give an answer. They'd just say, who knows? I don't know. He's God. I'm just a human. I'm just a person. I'm not smart enough to answer that question. Well, if you have the Holy Spirit living and dwelling inside you, you're that smart to answer that question. You have the answer inside of you. So, my answer to that very difficult question, I just installed a new webcam. So it's kind of acting kind of crazy. I don't really know it very well yet. So we only grow closer to God when we are at our absolute weakest point. There's no way around it. It goes against our nature to do otherwise. It takes a lot of pain, sorrow, fire, hardship, struggle, illness, disappointment, hurt, all of those experiences in your life to break down the shield and the flesh that we have, the boundary between us and God. So, in order for us to be restored to God, when I say restored, I mean reconciled. Hi, Carmen. How you doing? Thank you. God bless you too. Getting back to what I was saying, in order for us to be reconciled to God, when I say reconciled, I mean brought back to. He needs to melt down that very strong fleshly barrier that we have in between us. Our spirit and our soul cannot speak adequately to God unless our strengths are limited or hampered or otherwise occupied by illness or being hurt by someone we love. These all contribute to a closer relationship with Jesus Christ. And that sounds counterproductive, I know, and counterintuitive, because if Jesus is all love and Jesus wants what's best for us and our country and even our world, why does he allow division like we're experiencing in America today? Well, just like with the other hardships and complications in life, division behaves itself similar to a fire in a very refined area, a fire to refine a very precious metal. For my friends who make jewelry, they'll know that when you have to make a metal more pure, you have to send it through a very, very hot fire. And what that does is it purifies the metal, because all of the impurities or the dirt, the soil, the oils, the fragments that it's picked up along its journey will fall away from the fire. The fire will melt them or vaporize them, depending on what element the metal has acquired. And in that case, in point, that is what we are doing when we go through hardship. We are that piece of fine gold, but we are covered in elements, in impurities that make us very dull, and oftentimes we can't even shine because we have so many impurities around us and in us. So this division in our country right now is actually going to be used for our own good. God will use this time of division in our country for our own personal growth and walk with him. So you see, although this division in our country seems very painful, very obstructive, very negative, God will use this division in our country for our own good. Because today, or should I say 3 days ago, I realized I have 71 million new friends. And when I say new friends, 71 million people in this country that I've never spoken to. I've never seen them. I don't know their names. Other than them being citizens of our country, I don't know who they are even today. But because of the decision that they made on November 3rd, last Tuesday, I know that we are like-minded. We are like-hearted. We see the same. And that is very empowering. Can you think, with all of the different avenues of social media, could you think of a better way to filter out so many people? To burn away those that want nothing to do with us, those who mock us, those who disrespect us, those who might find our faith in God disrespectful or even hurtful to their own beliefs? This election gave us an opportunity to come to church. November 3rd was a day where our country went to church. 71 million people came to church. And today, here we are, and now we know we're not alone. I'm not alone. I know I have a few people on YouTube that know me and that I know and that I trust. But what you need to understand is that it's so much bigger than me. This whole life is so much bigger than you. But 3 days ago, we found out that not only is it just some vague bigger than you and I, but that it's 71 million people bigger than you and I. And to me today, I sit in my craft room and I think, wow, I don't feel so alone. I don't feel so helpless because there is 71 million people that think just like me. And there's even more than that, I know. There's far more than 71 million people. But for certain, I know that 71 million people in this country think just like me. And my friends, that is incredibly comforting to me. In fact, I feel like it's the weirdest thing. It's like on YouTube, I have, I don't know, like 700 subscribers. But in the reality of things, I have 71 million people that I could walk into a Dunkin' Donuts or a Tom Hortons or a Friendly's or even just a 7-Eleven. Did I say that? I don't even know. Or a restaurant and I can just sit down at the same table with them and we can talk to each other like we're old friends. Like we never didn't know each other. And we would be able to make eye contact with one another and even hold each other and wrap our arms around each other. Because we're in some really uncertain times. Our country is in some very, very tenuous times. Our country is in the midst of a struggle. I'm not sure I'm good enough with history to be able to say we've ever had a struggle like this before, unless it was back in the Civil War when it became a dividing line in our heart of this country over the issue of slavery. That was a monumental time in our country. It was what defined some of the most bloody battles. It was over the issue of slavery. Some people wanted to cling to slavery because it improved their lives. It gave them more financial stability. It helped them make more product. They were business people that I'm sure in their own minds thought that they were doing well by their decision. But in reality, they weren't. They were being self-thought of. They were, I trying not to say selfish, but I guess it is. They were being selfish. They were thinking of themselves before they were thinking about the workers that were putting their hard work into serving them, making the products for them to sell, whether it be tobacco or cotton or just farming. And they were just treated cruelly. And oftentimes, just bottom line, they would not choose to do what we were making them to do. If they had slaves and they were slave owners, they wouldn't choose to be there if they could find another place to live. And that was found to be an injustice. And our country started to discuss it and talk to it, one another. And what happened was there was a sifting. There were some that realized, hey, something's going very wrong with our country. Did you hear what was going on? And then they'd find another person that was like-minded, like themselves. And what would happen was is that it became a division, not necessarily too unlike what the division is now in our country. Although I don't believe that the division in our country today is a slavery or a race-based division. I know a lot of people want to say that it is, but I don't believe the facts warrant that conclusion. So when our country was divided back by the time of slavery and the Civil War, some in the North believed that slavery should end, and some in the South believed that if we didn't have slavery in our country, they wouldn't be able to provide a living for their families. They believed that the industry in our country was going to fall apart. And that wasn't true, but their fear kept them from setting these people free. Hi, Tanny, my girl. Hi, Polly. I see you there. Okay. So Tanny, I'm talking to everyone in America because I found out today that I have 71 million new friends, and so do you. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so here we are today, and we have great division in our country. My 71 million new friends that I made 3 days ago, who think just like me, like my Tanny and my Polly. And we 3 days ago became friends, and now we have a problem. Because other than the 71 million new friends that I have, there's a whole big number of people who are not my friends. In fact, I'm pretty sure that if they met me in a store and I were to let them know who I voted for on November 3rd, they would mock me. They may even yell at me. They might just turn away and dismiss me because I didn't see things the way that they saw them. And that's sad. We should never do that. In past elections, it was always said that never speak about politics or religion. And the older I get, the more honestly I can say that is some really good advice, because nothing divides a room full of people like those two subjects, religion and politics. So today I'm speaking to my 71 million new friends. Hi, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that when they finish counting the votes for our president, that we will realize and know and be comforted that we're not alone. I want people to see this video, and I want them to understand that I know they're there. All 71 million of you. And I support you. And I want to pray for you. I want to pray for our country, because there are some wicked, selfish people that are doing some very unrighteous things to our once very unified states. They're doing it because of their own families. They're doing it because of their own legacies, their own reputations, their own accomplishments, their own notches in history, if you would. The people I'm talking about are doing very dishonest things. They are they're getting one over on people. They're fooling them. They're lying to them. They're covering up for their own wicked works. They're doing wickedness. They're making deals with other countries, and they're receiving payment from those other countries so that they will benefit. And because they won't necessarily feel the sorrow and the hardship that their decisions and their deals with these other countries are making, because they can't feel it personally, they're deluding themselves, convincing themselves. They're becoming so focused on their own family's legacy, their own place in history, that they're clouding their own judgment and they're putting themselves first. It's their ambition. It's their lifelong dream. I'm sure if Joe Biden were to say when he started his political career, what is your lifelong dream, Joe? What is it? What is your main goal of going into politics? He would have said, helping people, supporting the people. I want to do good. I want to do good for the American people. I believe that 100%. I believe that we all start out with good intentions. But in the end, and after doing it for so long, I would imagine if he were honest, he would say, I've always wanted to be president of the United States. I want my children to be able to say that I was president of the United States. And that would be an honest admission. And I'm sure he did. And he may still be the president of the United States. But one big thing that we need to focus on is that he's not the president of the United States today. He's not. The media doesn't decide who the president of the United States is. Television, CNN, CNBC, CBS, Newsmax, InfoWars, Timcast IRL, Anthony Brian Logan, they don't decide. Jack Dorsey, don't get me started, does not decide who the president of the United States is. Our founding fathers wrote a very eloquently spoken word, our Constitution. They put out all the framework for us to follow for centuries to come. And just like the Bible, the Constitution is not too old to still be right. The Constitution is what we are founded on in this constitutional republic. It is our blocks, our foundation. And it's not wrong. It's perfect in every way for our country to live, to strive, to build, and to unite. The Electoral College is what decides who the president of the United States is, still today. The Electoral College was put in place so that the entire country would not be represented by only two very highly trafficked and deeply industrialized and congested populace-wise halves, the East Coast and the West Coast. That's not how um, our country is run. And we don't have that count yet. We don't know who won the Electoral College. Now, some of you may be watching the news, and they're saying that maybe Joe Biden now, they're saying he should have the 270 votes necessary to become the president of the United States. And that may be. But we don't know yet. COVID-19 has thrown an axe in the spokes, guys. This virus, this terrible virus that has killed thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, and has thrown our country's rules and laws and societal norms into complete havoc. And it's done the same thing to many other countries around the world. We're not alone with this virus. The entire world is suffering from this COVID-19. The entire world. There are many leaders of these countries, similar to our President Trump, who was faced with the same challenges from COVID-19. And there wasn't one of them that got it completely right. Not one ruler, not one leader, president, king, prince, Congress, parliament, not one that got it 100% right. So some of them did do better than others, but I'm not convinced that had anything to do with the leaders. I'm not convinced that any skills at the hands of any man or woman could determine whether or not their country or province or kingdom or land would do better. I'm not convinced. I still believe that God is in control of all things. I believe that with my entire heart. And I believe that for whatever reason, we all suffered differently from this COVID-19. And we're still suffering today. I personally know I've lost 2 very close people to COVID-19. And I now currently know of one person who probably does have COVID-19. And I'm struggling with my family to keep them here on my farm and not go to other churches and not go to the store more than they need to go, absolutely need to go. Because I believe that it is right among us. It's everywhere. It's here. And the people who have the deck of cards that are not as fortunate as others, they're the ones that are going to die and suffer the most from this COVID-19. This is a terrible disease. This virus is not from here. And it's not a virus that just appeared. This is a problem. But again, this problem, this virus is all over our globe. This virus is in every single country, to my knowledge, so far. And I want to go back to my first point. There has not been one ruler, king, president, secretary, prince, parliament, Congress, Senate that has got tribe, that has gotten this virus 100% correct. Not one. So why is our president ridiculed, mocked, disparaged, and disrespected? Because he is like the others throughout the entire world, that for their best knowledge, to their best understanding, did the best they could to contain a virus that was not our own doing, a virus that was invisible to everyone. We had no tests. We had no way of detecting it. We had no way of knowing where it was or where it is today. We do know one thing. We know where it came from. We know that it came from a very small province of China called Wuhan. And that virus escaped a lab. It didn't come from a fish market or a wet market in China. It came from a lab. Now, this information was never released to us. China never willingly released this information about the virus. They didn't. They were too scared. They were losing people left and right in their own country, in China, and they didn't know what was happening. And they were terrified. I knew about the virus back in December. I learned about it because I have a real interest in other places in our country or in our world because I don't travel much. And with having a farm and having horses and a property to take care of now, the opportunity for me to travel outside of our country is slim to none. So I took it upon myself to start educating myself about all the different countries in our world. And I was really interested in China. And so I would watch channels of Americans who are in other countries. And I came across a channel, AVD China, I believe it's called. And they lived in China as Americans, and they were there from their college years, I believe. Anyway, I was already subscribed to this channel of Americans living in China. And when I was watching their episodes on YouTube, I was starting to see something change. And they were saying on their channels that, what is going on? Something's not right. We got a bug going around. So I started to look a little further, finding other channels concerning China. And I started watching the news in China and even finding other Chinese citizens that use VPNs. That's a way of protecting your IP address and able to get through the China firewall, if you would. And I would listen to these residents in China, and they were sharing on their stories, on their videos, that people are dying and they don't know why, and they're dying very suddenly in the streets. And they were dying in this little province of Wuhan. They were terrified. Now, these viruses have risen up before in China. I don't know whether you want to say it's a lack of sanitation, a lack or a freedom to experiment with things they really shouldn't. I don't know. But China seems to have a bit of a history with having these diseases or these viruses come into their society and then them passing around the world, like SARS, I believe, is one also. And it's tragic. But these viruses, they didn't come because we made them. They came to us from China. If we want or feel the need to hold someone accountable for the deaths of our loved ones, then we need to hold China responsible for those deaths. When China realized and came to the Communist Party of China, when the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, finally realized that something was going horribly wrong and they were having trouble containing it, they were actually welding people into their homes. And I saw these videos before anyone here in the United States did. Why? Because I was watching. I had eyes in China. I would watch these people in China, and they were sharing things that scared me. They startled me. There would be reports of three people, or no, not groups. It was always one here, one there, one here. But out of nowhere on the street, for no reason, they don't have guns in China, so they weren't getting mugged or anything. These people were just dropping in the streets and they were dead. It was like some sort of, what is that Brad Pitt movie where all these zombies and stuff, or Contagion, you name it, any kind of those theatrical works about disease and rampant viruses and zombie apocalypse and all that stuff. It sounded remarkably like that. And I was upset. I was disturbed. And I went to my husband and I told him, I said, something's coming. I don't think it's going to stay in China. It's moving really fast. It's taking out a lot of people. We're talking about hundreds of people are dying from this virus in China. And I was alarmed. I was scared. And I would share this with my husband periodically. And I would share with him the channels that I listen to about the people in China. I would watch Jennifer. I don't know her last name. I'll try to get the links somehow attached to this tomorrow. But there was China in Focus. I would watch China in Focus. I believe that's a sister station of Epoch Times. And they would have these alarming reports of people being welded into their homes. They didn't have enough. They didn't stock their homes with food before they did it. They just, you too, friend. They just locked them in their homes with whatever food that was they had. And these people were screaming through the doors. It was terrifying to listen to these videos. I mean, these people didn't even speak a language that I could understand. But I could understand their pain. I could understand their horror about what was happening to them. They were screaming at the top of their lungs for someone to help them. The someone that they loved was dead inside the apartment with them. And the government locked them into the same place with their rotting relatives. And this didn't just happen once. This happened multiple times because they didn't want whatever killed them to get out of Wuhan. So when the virus started breaking out of Wuhan, despite the CCP's, the Chinese Communist Party's best efforts to contain it, they built walls around Wuhan. No one was allowed to come out of Wuhan. If you, by some reason, happened to drive through Wuhan and were about to drive back out, you were never allowed to get back out of Wuhan. They kept you there. You didn't have to be a resident of Wuhan. You were a resident now. You were a potential victim of this virus, and many thousands of people died in this Wuhan. When the virus broke through Wuhan, it went into other provinces of China, but it didn't get to Singapore. I believe that's what it's called, Singapore. I'm not sure. Take that away. No, it's not Singapore. It's the capital of China, where the CCP does all of their stuff. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, the virus started going further and further outside of Wuhan, and it started to go throughout China. Now, China is a huge, huge country. Lots of land, lots of people, millions and millions of people. And the virus got out of Wuhan. And the Chinese Communist Party knew that the virus was outside of containment. They knew it. They knew they had lost containment. So the Chinese people were kept in the dark. And when the Chinese people wanted to travel outside of the Chinese borders, they were permitted to do so. They were allowed to travel outside of China. And they went into all the different areas around our world. And with them also came COVID-19. China closed their borders to all travel into China when they knew about this virus, but their borders were open for their people to go into other parts of the world, knowing that this virus was not contained, knowing that this virus could be going outside of their borders into the world. And they let it happen. And it wasn't because they had a slip of thought, or perhaps were overwhelmed by the own loss of their own people. They did it because it was the CCP's way of capitalizing on a tragedy. And that is exactly what the CCP does. It capitalizes on others' sufferings and weaknesses to the betterment of their movement. That is the Communist Party of China. Now, you might have been with me when I posted that video about I made a decision not to monetize my channel. And that is still the case today. I will not monetize my channel. And one of the reasons why I won't monetize my channel is because if I were to say things on my channel like I've just said to you today, this evening, YouTube would have the power to hurt me or to persuade me not to mention certain things, not to say certain words, such as pedophilia or treason or voter interference, voter in what's the word? Voter fraud. There's a good one. Or let me see if I can think of anything. Perhaps Hunter Biden's laptop. You see, if I relied on the YouTube algorithm to decide whether or not I get money or commercials, they would be able to pressure me, kind of like the slave owners were pressured because they got that good coin. They got that good coin and they didn't want to let the slaves go because without the slaves, they wouldn't get that coin. Pretty much the same what's going on with YouTube. If you're monetized, make mental note. YouTube does control what you do. YouTube does control what you say. YouTube does control your freedom. And as a United States citizen, I'm not okay with that. I don't need YouTube to give me commercials so that I can make money. I don't need that. What I do need is to glorify God and to give the devil nothing but trouble. I want to be able to help people. I want to be able to touch people's lives with the truth. I want to be able to give people insight. I want to be able to bring light into the darkness of this world. I want to be able to be used by God to help others understand the complications that this world brings. And I cannot do that if YouTube is telling me what I can and cannot say. I am on Twitter, and I do use Twitter, but I still say what I want to say. I'm just not big enough for Jack Dorsey to flag me. Although I have been shut down now 3 times. Oddly enough, not for things that I've said, but because I've shared things that other people have said. And YouTube put me in timeout for that for like 11 hours. And that made me wonder about that too. Because the YouTube and the Facebook and social media, They have this umbrella of shelter under what's, I guess they call it a it's not Title 230. I think it's something else 230. And Section 230. And it wasn't meant to be used for a platform like Twitter or Facebook or MyScape or Instagram, because they didn't exist when Section 230 was penned. But because it has not been updated and modified to be used in this current day of technology, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, MySpace, whatever you want to call your social media platform, Reddit even, is using this false sense of security under this Section 230. And until Section 230 is modified to suit the social media platforms that we have today, they're going to continue to censor you. They're going to continue to dictate what you can and cannot say. They're going to continue to put little articles underneath your posts or your tweets that say, "Hey, would you like to read this article before you post it or retweet it? Here's the article. Wouldn't you like to look a little further into this before you send it into a retweet so others can see it?" And I got to tell you, that annoys me, because I got this little voice, this little influence in this tweet that's looking at me saying, "Hey, don't you want to look a little further into this? It's probably just fake. You don't really know the facts about it." I know plenty. I know what I want to do. I know what I want to say, and I know what I want to share. So Jack Dorsey needs to get himself out of my business and do what he does. Sit back and count his coin. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with our free society. I'm okay with people being smarter than I am and earning more money. I'm okay with people being more technologically savvy than I am. And I'm okay with them succeeding far more than I ever will. But don't tell me what I can say and what I cannot say. I just don't rely, I don't respond. I don't respond well to that. Get out of my tweets, Jack Dorsey. It's none of your business what I think or what I want to share. Just be and leave me alone. The same thing goes to that Facebook guy. I know his name, but I don't have any notes or any script. I didn't even know I was going to do this live stream tonight. I am a free American citizen. I get to speak freely when I want to. That's what we here in America believe and understand and love. We have liberty. We have freedom. Freedom to speak. Freedom to worship. Freedom to love. Freedom to share or not share. Freedom to not speak. Freedom to keep our votes to ourselves. In fact, when I was a kid, I remember my mother or any adult around me would say, "Don't ever ask anyone who they voted for. It's rude." And I'm not sure when we fell off that track, but it seems like who you voted for is no longer a personal choice. For some reason, we feel obligated to share who we vote for, who we support in our government publicly, and that's none of our business. It's none of my business who you vote for. It's none of my business who you sleep with. It's none of my business if you prefer to sleep with a donkey or a man or a woman. It is my business if you want to sleep with a child. It is my business if you desire to harm someone It is my business if you want to harm me or someone I love or someone smaller than you. That's my business. That's my right. And I'm not surrendering my right to anyone. No one. Not for money, not for influence, not for popularity. It's never going to happen. You know, I was reading tweets on Twitter and they were talking about how the Republican Party is pulling away from Donald Trump, and now Fox News is endorsing the mantra that somehow Joe Biden has miraculously pulled off the presidential election without having the qualifying electoral college behind him, despite all of the obvious misgivings and improprieties. Tim Pool will be so pleased if I use that word. We're supposed to be using words like trigger words. There are some words that trigger hysteria, and there are some words that trigger people to act emotionally and even think of us emotionally. We're supposed to be using words like improprieties. I hope I said that right. Voter improprieties and election irregularities. These are the hashtags that we should be sharing, because these are terms that the educated, overeducated, some might say, I be included in that number, listen to. They speak, these words speak to their education. Impropriety speaks to the legalities of our constitutional republic and those students thereof. So we need to speak less emotionally and more articulately. So when I see voter improprieties, I will speak of them, and no one can stop me. And no one should be able to stop you either. So don't give up, and don't stop believing in what you know is true. We know Donald Trump is not the kind of person that they say. We know it because we've seen the problems that our country has been slipping into for a very long time. And Donald Trump was and is not my pastor. He is not my husband. He is not my brother. He is not my idol. He is not my he's not my favorite person. I never watched his show, The Apprentice. The only part of The Apprentice that I knew of is when Jimmy Kimmel, no, not Jimmy Kimmel. I really don't really care for that guy. Jimmy Fallon. Oh, we really used to watch Jimmy Fallon a lot. But then he jumped the shark. He jumped it. He went in. And he used to say, you're fired. You're fired. That's all I knew about Donald Trump's show. Now, being a New Jersey born native, a Jersey girl, I knew Donald Trump because of his casino practices and the number of bankruptcies that he's had in New York. I knew how he gamed the system. He used the laws for his advantage, like any other business person would. Why? Because he's got shareholders. He's got shareholders that rely on him to make them money. And so he did. He put his shareholders first, and he worked it for the system, and he made his shareholders a lot of money. But today, the American people are Donald Trump's shareholders. Donald Trump sees the American people as his investors. And now Donald Trump is representing the American people. And he is now correcting those same laws that he once used for his more private shareholders. So President Trump is working for the American people. He's not against them. Even the people who don't like him, he's not against you. He's not here to make your life difficult. He has always been the most well-versed social entity that I've ever known in my growing up, next to Johnny Carson. He has always been everywhere. He was always at every fight. He was always at every wrestling match. He was always at every race. He was always at every parade. He was on every sitcom. He was on every talk show. Donald Trump was American royalty. He was huge, and everyone wanted his money. Did you notice that? Have you caught that? The Clintons were at his wedding because they could get something from him, his money. There's plenty of pictures of him with various celebrities that would treat him to their own bed, and they'd sleep on the couch. If he asked them for it, they would, because he had a lot of money. But now he's made his focus the American people, and the American people are his shareholders. And he's going after the fraud. He's going after the improprieties in our government for the American people, because they're stealing our money and they're not giving us anything for it. And he was mad by it. God touched him and showed him. God opened his heart to the veterans who are perishing inside of the Veterans Hospital, dying, waiting 2 years for an appointment. Do you remember those days? We don't hear about that very much anymore. And that's because they're getting their appointments much quicker than they were. And the veterans' homes and the Veterans Association is doing much better. And that's because Donald Trump is putting the money where it needs to be. And I do know people that would agree with me. I know 71 million people that would agree with me. So why are they picking on Donald Trump? Why is it that they wanted his money, his friendship, his interview? They wanted his answers, his wisdom, his guidance, his opinions before he ran for the president of the United States. Why was he considered a friend to the Black community, the Hispanic community, the Jewish community, the Nigerian community, the yellow community, the beige community, the brown community, the Native community, the Amish community, the American community? Boy, that sounds strange if you say enough times really fast. Everyone was okay with Donald Trump. He was a clown. He was an entertainer. He was funny. He would roast people. He would dance around. He was an entertainer, and a rich one. So why all of a sudden do people hate Donald Trump? Ask yourself that. Why? You know, here, let me see. This is not a paid advertisement. Like I said before, I don't have paid advertisements. But this is the webcam that I bought. It cost $87. I bought it at Best Buy, but I got a price match because Walmart had it for less money. So this is the webcam that I'm using. It's made by Razer, but it's an let me see. Backwards, but you get it. So this is this webcam that I bought. The reason I bought it was because I didn't want to have to rely on 1,000 different people giving me their membership so that I could go further and do live streams. That was my first goal, but then I didn't understand that I could actually live stream on my actual computers, which so now that I knew, and I started live streaming. I started live streaming from my big computer here, my desktop, and on my laptop. But their cameras stunk. I mean, what is up with that Apple? By the way, I own stock in Apple. So I encourage you to invest in things that you love already. And then they get to pay you for what you love. Anywho. So their cameras are totally awful. And so I got this camera here, and it works pretty good, I think. It's got some whoopee wowie, and I haven't done a lot of research into it. And I had to download an app to be able to tweak it and stuff. I got OBS, the program. I finally found out how to live stream. I've got a friend in New York City, and Tanny D, and her and I are going to do live streams together. And our live streams are going to be free. We are going to be free to speak, and it's free for you to watch or not watch. And we're free to give our opinions and free to speak light into a very dark place. And that's why I'm on tonight. I'm on tonight because there's a stillness in our country today. 71 million plus people today feel, well, I can't speak for them. I can speak for myself, being one of those over 71 million people. I feel fear for the people that are believing what Joe Biden and those that the powers that be are trying to tell them. They're buying it. They're too busy working. They're too busy struggling to live to be able to do research on their own. They're relying on the mainstream media, even our local news. They're just a bunch of puppets. The people, I don't know if you realize this or not, but the people that you see behind the counter of your local news, do you realize that all they do is they just read what's in front of them and they have no opinions of their own that they can share? Do you realize that? All they are people who look a certain way, dress a certain way, look a certain way, and say exactly what their bosses tell them to say. That's all your news is. But you need, in this day and age, and with all the technology that we have, you need to take responsibility for what you think. We don't have to rely on a radio playing some alien invasion and freaking out an entire area of our country like they did way back into, what was that, the 50s or 60s, when they thought it was the end of the world. We don't have to do that anymore. We as Americans have the entire wealth of man's known understanding, literature, our state representatives, our own state's laws, and who's our representative. Do you know who your state representative is? Because I don't. I voted down ticket, all Republican, but I didn't have the time to do the information and the studying to find out who's representing me in my state. Do you know who your state representative is? Do you know who your senators are? Do you know what they believe in? Are they Democrats? Are they Republicans? What do they stand for? These are things that we cannot take for granted anymore. And I say take for granted because before, and I'm not sure when it started, but I am sure, sadly, that a lot of this uncertainty and division in our country started with Barack Obama, which is very, very sad because I saw for the first time, I was with my husband, then boyfriend, and we were watching TV. And I think I was at his house. And Barack Obama was just was he a Congress? No, he was in the Senate. Was he? I don't know. He had just made it in public office and he was making a name for himself in Chicago, in my state, in Illinois. And I saw his face on that TV screen. And I said to my husband, I said, come here, come look at this, come look at this. And he's like, what? I was like, that's the first Black president of the United States. That's him. He's the guy. And there he was. And I was excited. I was super, 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 super excited. I thought it meant that our country was going to have a group of very disenfranchised populace risen up and given the feeling that they can achieve so much more. It was like a ceiling that was shattered. I was so excited when Barack Obama got in. I didn't vote for him because I'm too conservative for his views on things like abortion and stuff like that. So I try to stay true to that conviction because I have had 2 abortions in my life, and it's a grief and a horror that I did to my own children. And still to this day, I wonder what they would look like today and whether they'd be doctors or mechanics. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they would have been boys. So I vote my conscience when it comes to that. But I'm pretty open-minded with other things when it comes to birth control and stuff like that. I'm not like some zealot or anything. I think that that one, what's that one pill that they have for people who feel like they might have had unprotected sex, and I think it's a Plan B. Oh, it's Plan B. I'm all for that. I think if it can prevent a child being brought into the world to be mistreated, I'm all for Plan B. There's lots of different things that I'm much more open-minded than some. But that's not to say that I condone people having reckless sex with multiple partners. I think that we should have learned something when the AIDS epidemic came into our existence. We should have learned from that and taken a few steps back to a more modest way of living, but it doesn't seem to have happened. In any event, when I saw Barack Obama, I knew it. Something clicked in me. I was like, there he is. There's the first Black president. That was a good day. I was excited. I really was. Again, I grew up in New Jersey and in the New York, New Jersey area, and we don't have Black people in New Jersey and New York. There are no Jewish people or Chinese people. There's no one other than New Yorkers. We grew up all smushed together. There is no races out in the East Coast for the most part. There's no races like that. There's no division that way racially. So how did that start? I'm sure there's lots of people that think that they know, or maybe they don't know. I think I know. I know where it started for me when I started seeing some warning signs that we were getting some directions that were not good directions. They were bad. And it broke my heart to know that it was actually Barack Obama who started the division, that racial division. And it didn't start with racially charged comments by Barack Obama. It started with the disrespect of the American flag. That's where it started. I remember seeing him on broadcasts, and they would stand for the soldiers bringing in the American flag on a stage or something, and he would not stand with the others on the stage. I remember seeing that. He would sit right where he was, and he was very smug, and he'd have his leg crossed, and he'd have his hands in front of him, and he would just sit there and look at them. But he would never get up for the American flag. That worried me. That got my attention quick. And then it went from the American flag and not standing for it to him going on shows and apologizing for our country. What the heck is he apologizing for? I remember that. It would take my breath away. I'm like, what did he just say? Did he just get up there on stage and talk into the microphone to another country and say that he was apologizing for the United States of America? Huh? Play that back. And I would watch it on the news. And son of a gun, he was apologizing for the United States of America. He would say he was ashamed at the United States of America and what we've done. Now, I'm not everyone, but I've lived a certain amount of time, and I wasn't jiving with what he was saying, and it seemed like he was really talking down the country that elected him. And this is funny, I just got an itch, but it was a head scratching moment. And it only got worse from there. Barack Obama would continue to talk down the United States. He would continue to enunciate negativity and negative acts in our country. And then it turned to the Muslim thing, where he would elevate Muslims to a higher standing than Christians. He would, there was this big controversy whether or not he was a Muslim for his faith or not as the president. I really could care less. I don't care what your religion is. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care. I don't care. It's none of my business. And if you're Jewish or Hindu or Muslim, again, not an issue for me. It's not an issue. It's just not an issue. I don't understand why it would be an issue. I never did understand that. I don't get it. It's okay to be different than other people. It always was okay to be different from other people. Until Barack Obama came into the presidency. Then all of a sudden we all had labels again. And I would think to myself, wait, we don't do labels anymore, right? Whoa, wait. It was really weird because all of a sudden there were hot words like Christian was always included in someone's description. Whereas before it was Tracy so-and-so from so-and-so, wherever she lives. That's how we were known, by where we're from. She's from New Jersey, or he's from California, or he's from the Midwest. That's how we were introduced. And then when Obama came in, it became a pillar in the Muslim community, or a civil rights leader, or a women's rights, a feminist. All of a sudden we started having all these titles over our heads, and I really sensed something was up when he came into the presidency. Something wasn't going the way I thought it would, and that was really sad because I wanted so desperately for him to be a good president. He had an opportunity that we have prayed for our country to be unified. Barack Obama could have changed the world for the good. He could have raised up a group of people in our society that did not have a role model to show them what they could become. And that broke my heart. How dare he take this advantage of being in this office and not lift these people up? But he didn't. He marginalized them. He kept them in their happy place. And he never did a darn thing for them. That really hurts. He exercised people who were otherwise violent. Muslim extremists were given the nod from him as he again commiserated with the Muslim community because of our narrow-minded ways. Now who's narrow-minded? Now who's the tolerant ones? It's not the liberals. Liberals are supposed to be liberal-minded. Liberals are supposed to be willing to exist with everyone. Remember that video, that bumper sticker that said coexist with all the different symbols of the religion? What happened to coexist? What happened to being tolerant? What happened to be accepting and loving? What happened? Why is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, that's a miracle from God that I remembered that, because I want to just say AOC, but I think she finds that offensive sometimes. But Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, is that it? I think. She's now calling for lists of people who were Trump supporters. Why is that her business? Why would she need to write down who supported Trump, who donated to his campaign, who voted for Donald Trump? Who is AOC to have a list made of everyone who followed and supported our current president? Who is she? What were those hearings back, MacArthur hearings, was it? When communism was this hot issue and people who were thought to be communists were hunted down and put in lists and they were blacklisted from Hollywood. Look that up. There's truth in that. So is this just being reversed now? Are we turning into a communist society where the communist regime is going to hunt out the people who have seen them coming from a mile away so that they can re-educate us? When I went to school, my teachers couldn't even educate me in the first place. You're never going to be able to re-educate me. Are you paying attention? As Americans, are we paying attention? This is crazy. This is some Twilight Zone junk, guys. And we don't have we just do not have the time to be complacent. We don't have the time to be ignorant and enjoy it. We can't do that anymore. It's gotten dangerous. Now we're in trouble. Now we've got people in our government who are sabotaging the very Constitution that we rely on, depend on, and we're formed on. We can't do this anymore. We need to know who represents us, and we need to get on the phone and we need to talk to them. We need to be wise about our country's government, our state's government. We need to start getting involved again in our country. And I don't mean in a way of violence. I mean, we need to get involved in our country again. We've been sitting back for way too long and just letting the country roll by. We just weren't interested. We weren't interested in the theater of our politics. It's a nasty topic. It had gotten nasty. We can thank Bill Clinton for that one. How nasty the presidency had gotten. And we can thank George Bush Jr. for showing us how stupid our politics can look. Anybody remember when George Bush Jr. was dodging shoes being thrown at him from an Asian country while he was giving some sort of speech or something? He was dodging shoes. They were throwing shoes at him. I remember seeing that on late night TV. I think it was Jay Leno. That was it. Iraq, they did that. Iraq threw shoes at our president, our sitting president. All he did was make this stupid smile and dodge the shoe. And I remember watching this on the news and I thought, what an idiot. Pick up the shoe and throw it back. Japan. Okay, we seem to think it's see, I know it's a foreign country. He was out overseas. So that George W. Bush Jr. was the 8 year span of our government where I thought that it was a complete joke. And they kept making all these wars and killing all these people and going to all of these countries. He was there on a trade deal. Well, we all know the trade deals, whose pockets they were lining, don't we? And they're still doing it today with these trade deals. The Paris Accords, was that a thing or is that just a thing that was on Iron Man? Japan. I know the Iraq one. Okay. So these foreign deals, you give a little, they give a little, back and forth stuff. That's still going on today, except it's so much worse. They're selling out our country. And there's memes and there's jokes about learn Mandarin. That's not wrong. Because before Donald Trump came into office, before he decided to run, you couldn't find a sign up on a store window that said, "We're hiring." There were no jobs. None. Especially for our teenagers. Our teenagers would come out on summer break and they couldn't find jobs. You know why? Because there were people in their 40s, their 30s, in their late 20s, in their 50s who had been to school, been to college, and had professions for a long, long time, and they couldn't find a job. So they were flipping burgers at McDonald's and Burger King and Dairy Queen. And those weren't the jobs meant for adults. Those were the jobs meant for our high schoolers. And they took them. Well, they had to provide for their families. Adults were working at McDonald's, people. We saw that. And we shook our heads going, what the heck is going on? Why are electricians working at McDonald's flipping burgers? That was the buildup. That was the lean to why Donald Trump started to think he needed to run for our country. Because the jobs were leaving America and going overseas. Not just to China, but just over outside of our borders. Because they had Barack Obama, I don't know who it was, whether it was Obama or Bush's or the Clintons, or all of them. They were putting all these regulations on. And they were pushing these regulations, and the other countries that were benefiting from all these stricter guidelines that Americans and American jobs or American manufacturing would have to adhere to were nearly impossible to do legally and still make a profit. So these companies, being not much unlike Trump when he was in the private sector, did what was right for their shareholders. They took their businesses and went overseas so that they can make their shareholders happy and still earn a living and still supply their families' needs and their legacies, their notch in our history, their reputations for being successful. That's all they were doing. They were surviving. But what people failed to pay attention to is while these companies were going overseas to continue making progress and success and growing their businesses and providing for their families and their reputations, our country was dying. Buildings were closing. Businesses were closing. People were unemployed. People had no jobs of every skill level. It started with manufacturing, but it started to creep up into realty, and it started to creep up into retail. And before you know it, there was job loss throughout our country, almost throughout all of the spectrums of our trades. They were not building houses anymore, so electricians and contractors were out of work. And so that started the realtor market going down the toilet. It was just this terrible chain reaction that all started with someone having good intentions on behalf of their shareholders and going outside of the country. These regulations don't need to be there. They were there for one reason and one reason alone, to look good and to get really, really rich. That's the only reason they're there. You can say it's what's best for our environment. The environment is such a huge deal. Well, according to who is that Joe Bob monkey guy, that Gore guy. According to him, if we listened to him, we'd already have California would have fallen into the ocean by now, or at least it would be tilted down and flooded. He was wrong. Our environment is always going to change. Our Earth is always going to change. That's why there's no dinosaurs anymore. Who do we blame? Here's a good question. Who do we blame that the dinosaurs went extinct? Who's to blame? A rock that came out of nowhere from deep space? Is that who's to blame? So why all of a sudden do we believe if a much stronger animal like a dinosaur couldn't control when the environment changed, what makes us think that we can control when the environment changes? I don't understand that logic. Doesn't make sense to me. All these regulations, you really want to change the environment? Close down China and India until they can clean up their acts. Then that would be an environmental move. You want to talk about a Green New Deal? The Green New Deal doesn't need to be in America. America doesn't put out as much smog as India and China and Mexico and all of those poor nations that are still using antiquated machines and processes. It's overseas. That's where our smog and our environment is suffering. It's suffering from those antiquated businesses and ways of doing things and providing power and energy. That's where the problem is. It is not in America. You cannot continue to regulate America into the dirt just so we look the part. Are we just wait? So let's take this back. So America is supposed to be this Green New Deal because we are the light of the world, which, by the way, America is the light of the world. We are the light. Other poor nations look to the United States as a goal of freedom and democracy and free speech. We are the goal. America is the goal to many people that live in places where communism rules them and poverty looms. We are the richest nation in the world. And we are an example to the rest of the world. But that doesn't mean you're going to kill America just so that we play the part and think that India and China are going to feel so compelled by the incredible standard, the clean energy standard that America has made for us to see, for the whole world to gloat and say, oh, we need to be just like America. We need to have clean energy too. That's not going to happen. China's not going to do it. Mexico's not going to do it. India's not going to do it. They need food. They need to eat. They don't have time for this. They don't have the money for this. This is not how it's going to work out for us. You're going to strangle our country again. And if Joe Biden does in fact win the presidential election, and I say if Joe Biden wins, he still may, but he hasn't won yet. But if he did go into office, ladies and gentlemen, we are screwed. We are screwed. And if those Democrats get into office and they start implementing their crackdown on what we can believe, who we can see, who we can associate with, if we allow them to mow over us and push us around, we, my friends, we're screwing the pooch. We're screwed. We cannot let that happen. It's become a problem where they're pressuring us and the news is pressuring us, but don't, please, stay the course and have faith. These people, I don't blame them. I don't blame the other citizens of our country. I believe they want good for our country. I really do. I believe it. I don't know how it's happened, but they're under some sort of mass delusion. There's something that has brainwashed them. I don't want to lay blame on one particular resource that would be to blame. I would just say that people are way too busy, way too starving, working way too hard to provide for their families, and they just do not have the time or the resources to do the work. And I think that they've gotten lazy. So, what are Democrats telling Americans that are making them want them in power so much? What do you think it is? I'm reading some of my comments. I can't see it all. I'm sorry. The light's bright in my face so that I don't look like a shadow. Let me read some of the comments. When people do live streams, you know how people give them money, but it's super chats. Isn't that what they do? Okay, so let me read them. Okay, let's see. So I have my friends there. There's a few people here that are helping. Abdoza Deldo. Nice name, buddy. He's the one that was helping me with the location of Bush Jr. getting the shoe thrown at him. And the drifter is OG. He's my OG. He's my friend. He's my friend from Mark Carricker. My son from a different family. I miss my Mark. So the drifter says, after helping me with that other individual, the Abdo. Yeah, Abdo. I'm going to call you Abdo. That's okay. Abdo and the drifter were helping me with it being either Iraq or Japan. The drifter has a comment here. It says, they will all come back, even worse. It is why they want Trump gone. He killed their kickbacks through NAFTA. Oh, yeah, they did. They were lining his purse big time. Such bad deals, too. I don't know enough about these deals. What I have learned about them, I've only learned because we got Donald Trump into our government and he told everybody, hey, by the way, this deal sucks. It was so bad. And I mean, he was just, the way he talks, he's just like, guys, okay, wait, I'm a business person and whoever told you that this is a great deal for you, they lied to you because this is not a good deal. In fact, it's the worst deal. Worst deal. That's why we voted for this man, because he spoke to the American people and he told them the truth. Hey, guys, no, bad deal. This is how you need to do it better. And then he did it. Oh, wasn't that awesome? He did it. He did so many good things. And the WHO, NWO. Okay, Abdo, thank you for your comment. Thank you, Drifter, for your comment. Why most U.S. citizens vote for Republicans and Democrats only. They are a two-face for one coin. Okay, Abdo is right. I don't know enough about the other parties. I know that there's a bunch of different parties. But the Green Party, is there a Green Party? I know there's a Tea Party. I know there's an independent. And these parties, I don't know enough about to vote for them. And I think the reason why it's primarily a two-party system, is because we've been sold a bill of goods that if we vote for someone else in another party, it's like we're not voting at all. It's like we're not actually being a part of the solution. We've thrown our vote away. We should focus primarily on the Democrats or the Republicans. But you're right about that, Abdo. That is absolutely right. They're the exact same terribly corrupt parties of government. You're absolutely right. They're just two sides of the same coin. Absolutely right. I commend you for that one. I commend you for that. Something uninteresting. Hi, we missed you. You weren't here. We've been talking about the state of our country and how today, or no, I shouldn't say today, 3 days ago, I found that I had 71 million friends that I never knew I had who are like minded, just like me. And that's what I'm here for. We're talking about our government. We're talking about America. We're talking about the struggle that our country's in. That's what you've missed. But I doubt you've missed it. How can you miss it? There's a stillness in the air today in our country. There's a mourning feeling in our country today. Abdo, I would seriously vote for you to be the US president. Aw, that's cool. I actually thought about running for Congress or Senate. Senate, I wouldn't even bother with the Congress. We all know they don't do anything. I would run for Senate. I would totally run for Senate because they could never buy me. Never happening. You know, there's a song. Another reason I wanted to start live streaming and stuff is another thing about me is that I love to sing. Oh my gosh. And I loved, obviously, how long have we been on here? I'd spend all night doing this. 1 hour and 36 minutes. I would seriously spend all night doing this. Because my entire family that I live with now doesn't talk. I mean, we don't talk. It's seriously debilitating to my mental health. I married a very quiet man, and he has a very quiet family. And my youngest son lives with us, and his father is one of the quietest men I have ever met before in my life. And oh my God, I'm dying to talk to people. That's embarrassing to say, but it is so true. A girl needs to talk. And I also love to sing. So where was I just saying? Oh yeah, I was saying that I'd love to vote for Senate. Oh no, I'd love to run for Senate because if I did, they could never buy me. And although they might need to give me a great deal of medication because I have multiple sclerosis, they would never be able to outtalk me. I'm a pretty big talker. What'd you say? I missed you singing at church. Something uninteresting. Care to give me a hint at who I'm speaking with? Because I don't recall, but if you miss me singing at church, then you know me. Term limits are absolutely needed in Congress. That's another reason why I voted for Donald Trump. Nancy Pelosi is 80 years old. She cannot possibly still have 100% of her faculties. She needs out. Oh, Jesse Ventura, I remember when he ran. No, I do love him. I love him. Is he in Minnesota? I think he ran in Minnesota. I know him. I used to watch wrestling. I might have invaded your live stream. Oh, hold on. Yes, you did. Hi, sweetie. Okay. Mystery solved. I know who's in my live stream. Okay. Something uninteresting. You got me. And I'm glad you're here. So what I was saying is, what is this? She can still fly a decent broom, still even drunk. Well, she doesn't fly herself, so she's got what do you call those flight attendants on her broom? They give her drink. Gotta go pray. Abdo, thank you so much for being here, and I'm praying for you. Would you pray for me? Pray for the country. We need to be unified. 71 million people need to understand that we're all together in this, okay? Thank you for being here. Okay, so I was saying about the Senate. I think I would run for Senate. I think I would do that. Except we'd have to get around a few things, like I don't have a high school diploma. I have multiple sclerosis. I'm disabled permanently. But if we could get around that, I think I'd have a pretty good shot. I think I could do that. I'd be a raging pain in the ass. I could tell you that right now. A raging pain in the ass. I have a saying as a Christian. I've always said this: to God be the glory, and to the devil absolutely none. That has been my life's goal since I became a Christian. To God be the glory, and the devil none. I only want to bring glory to God and be nothing but trouble to the devil. I was talking to a friend on the phone today. I don't know what the requirements are for the Senate. Look it up. You're still in school. Do my business. Do some research for me. I need to know that. I was just telling them that you missed. We were talking about the government and how I don't understand what our state Senate and our who our representatives are and everything like that. So that's a good point. We need to get more involved in our country's government. That's 100% accurate. I never was involved. I was too busy fending off abusive husbands and having children as a teenager. I did not have time for politics. Anyway, so I was saying that I got this webcam because I really like to sing and of course talk to people, but I really love to sing. And when you brought up when Abdo brought up running for the Senate, he said that he'd vote for me if I ran for president. And I brought up running for Senate, and I had thought about running for government. And I thought to myself about how they'd never be able to pay me off. They would never be able to change me. It's not possible. I'm absolutely firm. No way. And there's a song that we sing at church. I love this song. It's like an anthem to me, and I'll just sing just a little bit. And it's, I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. I shall not be moved. And I could sing that from my rooftop above my barn and just be as loud as I could, because that's me. I'll not be moved. I will not be moved. Never. We all need to be courageous and we all need to be strong, because Joe Biden did not win the presidency. The Associated Press does not choose who the president of the United States is. The popular vote does not dictate who has won the presidency of the United States. It is the Electoral College that determines who becomes the president of the United States. Grain bins echo better. I don't have a grain bin. I just have my craft room. Anyway. So here we are. Joe Biden has assumed that he's going to be the president of the United States. The same Joe Biden who said, congratulations, America. That could be your president. Well done. Good job. Oh, what you say? Joe Biden, he's an old gent and he might not last long in the presidency if he does win the presidency. And that's what we have Kamala Harris for? Senator Kamala Harris as vice president of the United States? This black woman? Is that why we hire? Is that the requirements of the vice president? To be a certain color skin? Isn't that racist? Shouldn't it be their qualifications? Their education? Their integrity? I would think that would be the most important qualities to get someone hired. Y'all need to listen to the Salty Cracker. He cusses a lot, but he's very funny and he's very passionate. And believe it or not, he's one of the 71 million friends I have. Okay, so something uninteresting. Looked it up for me, and I'm going to read it because I want to thank you for coming onto my live stream. I really appreciate it. I need your support. So I looked it up. She says, Apparently, the requirements for Senate and apparently the requirements for Senate, and it's three things. The requirements for the Senate, a student, right? Just checking. The requirements for the Senate, and it's three things. I can't make, okay. You have to be at least 30. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, I need a bell. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, well, gotta give me a bell. At least 30. You have to be a US citizen for 9 or more years, and you have to live in the state you want to be the Senate of, in the Senate of. Well, that's a state senator. Is that a federal senator? I thought there were two kinds of senators. The state that you want to represent at the time of election. Excellent job. You can be one of my moderators. That'd be awesome. Excellent job. Thank you. I respect you doing that for me. Thank you so much. So where do we go from here? All of my friends, what happens now? You know, I'm listening. I live in a pretty conservative area. I don't hear any fires or windows breaking or cars being broken into or car alarms going off. Why? Why are the people, the 71 million new friends that I have, not rioting in the streets? That's weird. You ever think about that? If the Democrats believe that they won and Joe Biden is in fact the president of the United States, why is there still rioting? Why are they still breaking into stores? Why? Why are they still rioting? Why are they still unhappy? I don't understand that either. It doesn't make any sense. Unless they really don't believe that he has won. I don't know. It's all a big, huge delusion, and they're crazy. They're crazy. This mental illness thing, you know, everybody's mentally ill, mentally ill. They're crazy. They're possessed by an evil, wicked spirit of delusion. They're not mentally ill. They are batshit crazy lunatics. They're not mentally ill. Seriously, check it out. I have a long history in my family of mentally ill. This is not mentally ill. This is crazy. This is possessed by a spirit that you can't control. These people are crazy. And there's no way around it. There's no nice way of putting it. They're nuts. They're absolutely nuts. They're delusional, and they are in some sort of mass hysteria, and we need to break it, and I don't know how. The only one who could break this spell that's over our country is God himself. I can't do it, but I can support you as my friend. I can support you as a patriot, a person who believes in the United States of America is a beautiful place to live. It is the best country in the world. That's another thing. Since when is saying America is the best country in the world became a bad thing to say? Since when am I worried about Ethiopian feelings because I believe I live in the best, strongest, and incredible country in the world? That started too through Obama. We started feeling sorry for other people so much so that we stopped being thankful for where we lived. It's crazy. We live in America. My grandfather and grandmother came here from Germany after World War I with nothing because we were America. And I believe that we do a disservice to every single legalized immigrant or resident alien in our country today by doing anything less than what Donald Trump has done with our borders. We have cheapened their goal of a lifetime. The people who have escaped communist countries, we cheapen their victory when we change the liberty-infused society that they dreamed about making it to as a child. Can you imagine how betrayed they feel today? Those people that came from Cuba Venezuela. Can you imagine how betrayed they feel? How scared they must feel? How hard they tried to get here from another country just so they can have the American dream? I would imagine that they are much more frightened, much more disenfranchised than I could ever be. And I'm sorry for them. I'm sorry. But I'm going to do everything in my power to pray that God, I can't convince God. I take that back. I'm going to pray that we all can come together and the 71 million people will reach out to one another and we'll support one another so that we don't feel so alone. We're coming on 2 hours of a live stream that none of us had planned. I don't know, guys. I just wanted to come on and say it's okay, it'll be okay. Even though I don't know exactly how it's going to be okay. I do know that Attorney General Barr knows what's going on, and I believe that they took the bait. And I believe that the charges are mounting on top of one another over and over and over again with every waking moment that they continue to take an office or take advantage of an office that they have no right to. I believe that. I believe that they are, all of this is being documented. Treason is being done. And I believe that treason should be enforced. The laws should be enforced and they should be hung. They should be hung for what they're doing right now. This is a crime. This is a crime that they're doing right now, taking over our country. This is a coup. This is a soft coup. And in plain sight, no less. Right out in the open. It's amazing. All because of greed. All because of a few families' greed. Wow. This is America. It doesn't happen in America. It happens in Venezuela. It happens in South Africa. It happens in other countries, but it doesn't happen here. And now it's here. Well, guys, it's 8:02. I'm tired. As I'm sure the entire country is. But I just want you all to know, just stay close to God. Focus on Him. If you consider yourself to be a believer in God, then stop talking His ear off and give Him the time to talk to you. The only way God will talk to you, if you're not close to Him, is through His Word, through the Bible. Those are the only sanctioned words that God can speak to you where you will know that God is speaking to you. So if you have a Bible, open it up and read something in that Bible. It doesn't really matter what it is. God wants your intention to want to listen to Him instead of us just talking at Him. We're told that He is a friend to us and that we are His friend. Friends talk to one another. Friends listen to one another. Don't just talk God's ear off. Open God's Bible so He can talk back. It's a conversation. Conversation goes two ways. Don't just talk at God. Let God talk back. And the Bible is how He does it. Not a devotional, not on your computer, an actual book, Bible that you can hold in your hands, you can grip and hold on to, because God wants to be able to take your hands and put them where He wants them to go. God wants to be able to direct your feet to go exactly where He wants you to go. And God wants your heart to be led where the Spirit leads you to go. Because wherever God leads you and wants you to go, it's always for your better, always for your good. Maybe not in the short term, but always in the end. I pray for our country. I'll continue to pray for our country. I'm going to be doing a lot more live streams because I got my new camera. I'm going to figure out how to make it look better and not be so crazy. And I'll look more into the OSB. I believe that's what it's called, OSB. And we'll do the live streams together. My friend Tanny in New York City and I pray for the West and the East Coast, the riots that have been going on. Please pray. We need to pray. Please, would you join me in prayer? Help me pray for them. The next live stream, I'm going to talk about prayer. I'm going to talk about how prayer being spoken by myself and others, how it helps people that we never actually knew or never will know. I want to talk about that because there's something to it. There's a formula I've realized. Why does our prayers here impact people that we'll never know? And I think I'm onto something with that. But I didn't get this wisdom because I only looked at my computer screen and picked up a devotional once in a while. I'm given wisdom because I give God every single waking hour and sleeping hour of my life. I am dedicated to God. I am always listening to God. I don't even listen to the radio anymore in my car. I don't listen to the radio in my home. I prefer it to be quiet so I can hear his still small voice that much more clearly. And if you do the same and we pray, we can help people that we don't even know. So let's work on that, okay? I just want to tell you thank you very much for you watching, whether you're watching it during the live stream or you're watching it later on when it posts, because I'm going to leave it up. I value you. If you're one of my 71 million new friends, I value you, and I'm grateful you're here because I feel so much less alone knowing that you're there with me. Just stay still and quiet. Go on about your business and let AG Bar and let the case grow. It's growing. It's not over. Don't give up. But I do not encourage you to watch the news. Stay away from the news because it's a bad place. It's corrosive. Social media is corrosive. I don't even think I'm going to be on Facebook anymore. New friend, I thought we were friends before. You're a solid goofball. Of course we're friends. We're not friends. We're family. So shut up. I don't even get your handle, but I don't want to call you your name because you have your handle for a reason. So I'll just say, stop being a goofball. You're my daughter. You're my daughter from another mother. It doesn't rhyme as good as my brother from another mother, but we'll figure out a way. And don't give me mean faces. Okay, I'm talking to the live stream. I've got my little secret gnome in my live stream talking to me. So thank you for looking up those facts for me. You're very helpful. I appreciate you, my A student. She's an awesome friend, and I love her. I love you too. I'm going to end this live stream now because if I keep doing it, I'm just going to stare at the screen and I'm going to go blind by looking at this light bulb screaming in my face or being so bright. I guess I can adjust it. Oh, that's brighter. Ooh. Is that better? I don't know. I'm going to fiddle with it. Anyway, it's a good webcam. Not sponsored at all, but just stay still and know that God is in control. And a scripture I'll leave you with is Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's the truth. I love you all. Goodbye, my friend down there, something uninteresting, very interesting, beautiful person. I love you all. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to having more live streams with you. Thank you so much for your contributions and your comments. And it'll be okay. Bye. God bless America.